Casey's presents Famous People on Famous Pizza.
I'm Jim Dorr, the only guy in Scott County to ever bowl a perfect game. You can't be perfect on an empty stomach. That's why I love Casey's Pizza. They use fresh meats, vegetables, and handmade dough so every pie is hot and delicious. Just like my backswing.
Casey's, famous for pizza. Order one today and see what everybody's talking about. Right now, get a large pepperoni pizza for just $10. Not valid with any other offer.
Come and enjoy the Nemo Fair in Kirksville, Missouri, July 16th through the 21st, 2012. Season passes are on sale at these participating businesses: Gas and More in Memphis, Kirksville and Memphis Farm and Home, The Cheese Post in Downing, and BP Fuel in Lancaster. One low price of $45 gets you into all the shows and grandstand events. Tickets are on sale now, June 1st through July 15th. After July 15th, purchase at the gate only.
Real country weather.
Hey, you know what? The weather has changed slightly, and now we have a 20% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. It'll be mostly sunny otherwise today, and the high should be near 89. Tonight we see a 20% chance of showers or thunderstorms. It'll be partly cloudy and the low should be 63.
Your KMEM temperature is 79 degrees.
Real country weather.
Hey, you know what? The weather has changed slightly, and now we have a 20% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. It'll be mostly sunny otherwise today, and the high should be near 89. Tonight we see a 20% chance of showers or thunderstorms. It'll be partly cloudy and the low should be 63.
This is the award-winning broadcast of Healthy University, bringing health and vitality to you and your family, brought to you by Scotland County Hospital in Memphis. Now, here's your host, Dr. Randy Tobler.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without price. Now I want.
Good morning and welcome aboard. It's Healthy You. Hope you have your backpacks, your textbooks, your protractors, and your rulers ready.
Whoa.
They don't use protractors anymore, do they?
I don't know.
In school.
I miss school. What? Well,
we're going to have a protracted discussion about dietetics today.
Okay.
And how to eat healthy from a celebrity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how's Bud today?
I'm doing good.
How's Elisa?
Very good, thank you.
Taking the long way around because Bible Grove Road is closed. We were just hearing the
by
journeys.
The way, folks, Route T, you need to maybe consider an alternate route
it's
today.
Like Gulliver's Travels, listening to how Elisa had to get here. I couldn't believe it.
It's just a 10-mile gravel route via Knox County.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. It's just a 10-mile gravel route via Knox County. I guess we're always glad when our roads get attention.
Highway T might as well be a gravel road anyway, so what's the difference?
So here's the funny part. My husband tells me last night to take the alternate route D, Slocum Station. Mm-hmm. They're doing the exact same thing to Route D. And talk about sending me through the boonies. I just finally got off Route D on some gravel road last night, and I'm here to tell you, hoot-owls and chickens kind of ain't back in that area. I had not been back in that area.
They call it chipping, right?
Yeah, chipping.
I keep thinking
that's
there's going to be...
That's not the word I wanted to use when I saw the last night.
Well, chip happens.
So Route D, don't take Route D either. No. Don't take Route T. Fortunately, Route C in Knox County, if you turn at Greensburg, that's clean and clear, and you can get to Bible Grove.
When they said they were going to be chipping, I thought there'd be a bunch of people out of there with flat 9-irons, sort of dig with plastic golf balls.
That's
but I think
not
they had something else in mind. So what's going on? Hey, tell us some hospital stuff. What's going on at the hospital?
There's quite a bit of stuff going on at the hospital, but
we're at the fair
we'll be at the fair this week, and we'll be located in the art hall with a booth there. So if you're out, please stop in and see us. We have some information and gifts for you, and we love to visit. And then let's see, we got Jennifer Mayfield, who's a nutrition and health education specialist at University Extension Office in the courthouse. That's going to be with us on Thursday, July 19th. And I think that's going to be over in the conference.
It is. Our diabetes and obesity support group.
It'll be a noontime lunch and learn. Bring your own lunch. And let's see,
If it's not healthy, or do you get? I mean, can you still have admission to the event? Or
Nobody.
not?
Yeah.
If we bring peanut butter and jelly or something, is that allowed, or do you get cast out? I don't know.
Nobody's going
Nobody's
to
gonna
grade
say a
your
thing
lunch
about
for lunch.
Okay.
So and it's at 12 noon on the 19th.
Okay.
And we have a booth at the Clark County Back to School Fair, and that's August 2nd from 2 to 5, and it'll be in the Town Square Park, and we'll have a booth there, and then see you Saturday, August 25th at Scotland County Antique Fair 5K Run, beginning around 7:30 or so. The race starts at 8. It's sponsored by Scotland County Hospital. It's over on the east side of the square, and so that's kind of some things that are going on. Did you see that thing about whooping cough this morning?
About it? No, I missed it.
There's already over 16,000 cases, and this is July.
Well, this is just you mean nationally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's been some concern locally about sporadic outbreaks too, and people need to get revaccinated.
Well, children need their pertussis vaccine, and by the way, we need to talks. We need to talk about that because school's coming, and make sure get your kids, make sure they're up to date on everything. But a lot of adults don't understand that they're not even aware of the fact that they need to be vaccinated.
No, they do.
Against whooping cough. And so they're not getting it done. And a lot of times the window of opportunity for the infants is they need to be 2 months old before they can get theirs.
Right.
Their first one.
And they get 2, 4, 6, and then like a year and a half, and then 4 or 5 years old again.
Yes.
And then you're supposed to get one after age 19 too.
You are, but the adults aren't getting anything. And what's happening is a lot of adults are getting it and giving it to their infants that are less than 2 months old because they haven't had their shot. And then
they say whoops.
Yeah,
it's not good.
No.
Whooping cough can be deadly. I mean, it can be, all these things. Pertussis, whooping cough, diphtheria, which is in that sort of TD, which is tetanus and diphtheria, or Tdap, which is tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis.
But they don't understand, adults don't understand that a lot of times if they go, okay, I got my diphtheria and tetanus, well, that you can get the one that has whooping cough or pertussis in it. But they don't always have. It's not always the 3 combination shot, and they need to be paying attention to that.
But my understanding is that no matter even if you don't remember, if maybe as a young adult you got a tetanus or a diphtheria or both or whatever, you can get another one.
Sure,
it doesn't hurt to get another one. No.
It's not going to.
Well, but a lot of people think, "Whoa, man, I'm getting this vaccine, and the vaccine.
I can't get that because it hasn't been 10 years.
It might cause a reaction, and it won't unless you're just allergic to whatever is in what's used to produce the vaccine. Yeah. And some of them use eggs and so forth. But, can you imagine?
And I have to admit, as a mama, my family practice doctor, my pediatrician, my health department officials, they stay on top of that better than I do. Yeah. I have to admit, if you've got 1, 2, 3 kids, it's hard to stay on top of that.
Absolutely.
So just take your little card with you every time you go to your Well Baby Clinic or Well Child Clinic. No, that's what this mama does, because I just can't stay on top of that. I don't research all that. I just hope my family practice pediatrician health department. But
anyway, you can see your doctor. You can go to the health department and just talk to them. They can bring you up to date on whooping cough and what you need to do, and when was the last one, and
sure.
Yeah, and so if you have any doubts, if you're an adult and you're not sure if you've had your tetanus or your diphtheria or had your booster on your pertussis, just ask your doctor about it. But in most cases, they'll recommend you go ahead and get it if you don't have a record or you don't have a recollection of it, because it's the downside is essentially nil. I mean, there's always the 1 in a million person that has a reaction of some type. But I mean, for the most part, downside's nil. And health historians have argued over the decades, is it vaccination or is it the onset of antibiotics? Or in a third category, sanitary sewers and, more sanitary public health conditions that have contributed more to our length of life and our quality of life and our lifespan than anything else, bar none.
Yes.
And so vaccines are always in that discussion because it's just made a huge difference, not only in the United States, but worldwide. I mean, it's been huge. You talk about the Rotary Club and their worldwide campaign to eradicate polio, and they've been so active in that, and it goes through all of the various diseases.
Yeah.
So,
It
does.
does.
Very, very
and,
important.
I was looking on this. There in 2010, we had a record year in the states for whooping cough. It was like over 21,000 cases that year. And this article today said, look, we're well on the way for having another record breaker.
And what we're seeing is, I think, a lot now, we're reaping, unfortunately, some of the misinformation and some of the public hysteria that resulted from the vaccine scare from that now discredited doctor in England who, tried to connect autism with childhood vaccines.
Gosh, yeah.
And unfortunately, that has been discredited. The guy has basically lost all scientific credibility and had to retract. It's just been an ugly scientific story. And I think a lot of people that otherwise are suspicious of technology and worried about the downside and do we really need all this, were given a lot of, unfortunately, false validation of those fears, and they acted on them. And now we're seeing some of the spin-off. I mean, there's been public uproar in many pockets against vaccinations. And that's great if everyone else is vaccinated and you're not vaccinated, then you're not going to get it. But if there's enough of you that decide not to get vaccinated,
then it affects the rest of us.
Then we have an opposite herd mentality, and we've got a large herd that's susceptible.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
We had a vaccination debacle last week. We had a scare of chickenpox at our house.
Really?
And come to find out, kids get 2 shots now for chickenpox. But apparently there was an era there about 8 or 9 years ago that CDC said you only needed 1 shot.
Right.
And my little guy fell into that era of just the 1 shot. And so when we had this little chickenpox scare, come to find out, my youngest one had the 2 shots, but my oldest one didn't have the 2 shots. So pediatrician said to me, make sure at some point before he starts school to go ahead and get that second shot.
Awesome.
But, we didn't know that until we had this chickenpox scare. So if you've got...
info.
Yes, new info. So if you've got, someone around that 8, 9, 10 age era, check their sheet that has their immunizations and indeed see if they are the 1-shot chickenpoxers or the 2-shot chickenpoxers.
Yep. Careful how you say that, but I get the idea what you're saying.
Meet the Pockers. Sounds like a movie. Go down to Bible Grove and meet the Pockers.
But take Route C in Greensburg.
Oh, yeah, please do. Yeah. So what else is up, bud?
Well, there's a story also out today about the folk remedy that may actually be real after all. A new study finds that cranberry products really do help prevent urinary tract infection. I mean,
that's
come
old
on.
News.
We've known that for... a long time.
Sometimes
that's crazy.
You wonder about, there's big arguments in our country about wasteful spending. People are arguing, do we need more revenue? Do we need less spending? Do we need a little of both or whatever, whatever. But from reading the scientific literature perspective, sometimes I get so angry talking about waste, When you think about, there was a study that came out from my favorite group, the U.S. Preventive Task Force Services.
Yes.
You know how I feel about
them.
Well-meaning people, but sometimes I disagree with their recommendations. They came out with the startling admonition and the rebuke of American physicians that we are not screening for obesity enough. How many times have I been told by my patients when I just gently comment like, hey, the complaint you have, the thing you're worried about, the family member who just had a heart attack, this person who just had diabetes. You might look at your intake and your exercise because, larger people will tend to have a bigger risk. And we all do that in one way or another as doctors and as nurse practitioners and PAs. And I'll hear back on next year's visit, you yelled at me last year. No, I was just commenting, and that's what we do. We try to look at the whole individual, whether it's vitamins, vaccines, nutrition, And we do reference things like weight. And here the U.S. Preventative Task Force Services, I wonder how many $1 million they decided to spend to determine that doctors need to screen and have bigger and better discussions with their patients about obesity.
Have to pay for all those high salaries.
I'm sure glad those guys at those professional big think tanks are thinking about us. They're looking out for us. I thought, my God, how could that money have gone to subsidizing healthier foods and whatever else, to do that? Speaking of healthier foods and talking to people about, weight and more importantly, health, I've been looking forward to talking to our guest who will join us just after the break, Ashley Koff, registered dietitian and celebrity dietitian. who you've seen on Dr. Oz.
I want to hear
all over.
about the AKA list.
Yeah, the AKA list. And what is a qualitarian? Is that like something? Can I vote for that person in November? I don't know. Is that a new party?
A refreshing alternative.
Yeah. We'll talk with Ashley Koff, and you can check out our website, Ashley Koff, Koff, not Cough, AshleyKoffRD.com.
Yep.
And we'll come back after this short break and join Ms. Koff and invite your phone calls as well, 465-7225.
And 1-800-748-7875.
Back in a minute on Healthy You.
Understand why God made those flyover states.
Economy got you down. Sick and tired of all the empty promises those big city fat cat politicians are spouting? Well, fret no longer, folks, because your next president is promising nothing but your favorite rock and roll hits from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s every Sunday night from 6 to midnight here on KMEM. So for the best rock and roll hits on Sunday nights, and for the good of the nation, elect Donnie Middleton for president in 2012, or whenever. Paid for by the National Cold Frosty Beverage Super PAC.
Missouri conservation agents work diligently throughout the year to ensure all resource users are following the regulations outlined in the Wildlife Code, but agents depend upon the public for help. Operation Game Thief is a way for everyone to get involved in protecting our natural resources. When a violation is observed, it may be reported to a conservation agent directly or by calling 1-800-392-1111. Remember, when people violate the Wildlife Code, they are stealing from you and me. This has been Missouri Conservation Agent Gary Miller.
And a grand slam home run.
That's a double play.
Woo! Is that nice to see?
It's a goner.
When he has that strike going, it's Katie Bar the dog.
A half swing, he went too far, he's out on strike.
Listen to downtown St. Louis. Listen to Cardinal Nation. The sounds of summer in St. Louis. Listen to the Cardinals.
Listen to the world champions on your sports leader in the tri-state, KMEM Memphis, Missouri.
We're going for 12 and 12. And the Cardinals are world champion for 2011.
I feel a shiver run up my spine. I feel the warmth of her hand in mine. Ooh, I hear laughter in the rain, walking hand in hand with the one I love. Ooh, how I love the rainy days and the happy way I feel inside. After a while, we run under a tree.
Well, I'd like to feel good inside and run under the tree, but some of us are a little low on energy and we're walking under the tree and not feeling so good inside.
The rain part would be really
The
nice.
rain part's nice. We could use some of that here.
Man, those corn stalks are they're like curled up like a doobie.
Really?
That's what we decided.
I hate when that happens.
Yes.
That
was the analogy we made.
And you would know that, Hal.
I don't know. It was a term I heard somebody use.
You're a long ways away from sugar right now.
We're having way too much fun here. Maybe Ashley Koff, celebrity dietitian, author, health, and lifestyle contributor, can bring a little sensibility to our discussion. How you doing, Ashley?
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ashley.
I'm doing great, and I just had to chuckle. That is the best expression I've ever heard about a corn stalk.
You should see the corn stalks. They're just awful around here, aren't they, you guys? Corn stalks.
What's surprising about it is you all understand what that means.
Yeah. Well, you ought to see Elisa's tassels. On another thing. We have too much fun here, Ashley. Listen, we're so pleased to have you, and I know you're such a busy and active and everywhere we see you kind of person. Thanks so much for joining us. It's so fun to read your website because it's about things about it's not about obesity and lose weight and get those rolls off. It's about health and it's about sustainability. It's about wellness. And I think those are the most effective terms in terms of educating and helping people that I think we all know as a byproduct, if you eat healthfully, you will look better as well, right?
Yeah, I remember when I moved from Manhattan to Los Angeles. This was about 12 years ago, and somebody said, "What's your thing going to be?" And I panicked. And I come from my background is actually in advertising and marketing. I worked at grew up on Madison Avenue, worked for big companies in terms of advertising. So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have that thing. My thing has always just been health." And here I am coming to LA, and they're like, "Is it you don't eat orange?" Because at the time somebody famous wasn't doing that, or no more white stuff, or all this stuff. other stuff, I was like, it's health, personal responsibility, making better choices. I was like, this is so unsexy. You know? I was like, I may as well just bury myself in and actually, and just start working with people and hope that, the world changes a bit. And quite honestly, I'm super happy to say that it really has changed. And in the last 10 years, I feel like people have come, whether it's nutrition experts, the medical community, the government, et cetera. I think we've really all come so far to this place of realizing that when you focus on your health, if health is the overarching umbrella, then all of the other things, better skin, better body composition, better energy, which is different than more energy. All these things come your way. At the same time, you're helping the body reduce its risk of chronic disease and repair itself better. And, we're looking at healthier aging, these sorts of things. And finally, about 2 years ago, I came up with a sexier term, which is qualitarian. I finally got somewhere where I was like, this is what I mean by my practice.
Well, if you run, we'll vote for you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, I guess, and let's talk about what is it to live as a qualitarian when it comes to your health? What does that mean?
Great question. And it really came out of, having answered this question for, as I said, over 10 years in my practice, thousands of patients, the media, everybody trying to say to me, like, well, what is it? What's your thing? And I've done everything. I've done the vegetarian, the vegan, the this, that, and I always felt like every way that, I used to say to people, finally, just in frustration, you cannot label me. Like, nutrition isn't about a label. There is no IAN that you can be, et cetera. And it really actually happened for me in the midst of a fly fishing trip, which I love to do. I was not thinking about my work at all. And I had gone, I was in Montana, and my guide said, hey, I looked on your website before I took you, and I hope lunch is okay. And he pulls out these beautiful glass bowls, first of all. And if you've ever been fly fishing, the normal lunch is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a packet of Oreos, some type of chips, and maybe a soda. You're lucky if they remember to bring plastic bottle water.
Right. Don't forget the Mountain Dew. Right.
Right, exactly. So here he was, and he brings out this organic salad, beautiful from a farmer's market, starts portioning it out for each of us, has bamboo utensils for me. I mean, I literally thought I was being punked in the middle of the, of the river. And then he says, and my wife made me made us desserts. It's gluten-free, organic. And here, in the salad, and I looked down and I said, oh, you know what? I don't eat meat. I was kind of looking at the meat on the salad, and he said, oh, well, I don't know what to do because I wanted to make sure that you have protein, and this is buffalo, and it's, I shot it. My whole family has eaten the buffalo. I can tell you, I followed it, and he starts going through this whole thing, and he said, can you tell me, what it is about, are you a vegan, or, I don't really understand this. And I said, interesting. And I was actually speechless, which really means, he hit on something. And I said, well, first of all, and then I started and I realized, okay, from a personal standpoint, I'm not somebody that, I don't have, I'm not somebody who has a taste or a craving for meat. But I'm not saying meat across the board is tougher. And in my explanation with him, we started to talk about it. And I ended up, by the way, tasting it. It was the best meat that I'd had in years. And I don't eat a lot of meat, definitely. But, we started to talk through that part. And what I realized is, and I kept coming back and saying to him, it's really about the quality of things. And everything you've demonstrated here to me is about the quality and what you choose to have. And it was like this light bulb went off for me. And whenever I talk to somebody about health, I don't start in with all the things they should not do. And there are a lot of things that we have to be conscious of avoiding and how to navigate, but I never start off in the negative. I always talk to them from a positive standpoint and remind you that it's your choice what you put into your body. So instead of all of these programs that are about what you don't eat, what you can't have, what's off limits, it really is about what you should be having, what you should choose to have, understanding the nature of a choice. And when it comes down to choice, you always want to make what I call the better quality choice. And that's how Qualitarian was born. And it's this idea that there's no room for perfection or absolutes in a diet. I've had one of my celebrity clients is a vegan, long-standing vegan, was pregnant, and she said during her pregnancy, I think I want to have an egg, but I'm so afraid afraid that the vegan community will, throw me out under the bus, if anyone finds out I have an egg, even though I know it's from chickens who, my neighbor's chickens, they're sustainably, everything is good about their lives. They're taken care of. And I sat there and I was like, wow, we're really talking about you being concerned over an egg, and I was like, it's your decision if you want to have this egg. It shouldn't be this black and white about, what these labels are. So the idea of equalitarian is any food under the sun, as long as it's the food the way that it's grown, the better quality food is going to be the food that is in its form closest to it's found in nature and the way that Mother Nature intended it, is available to you. And how you choose, there are core nutrition principles, but how you choose it should really be based on what you want to have, what your preferences are, what your cultural preferences are, and then understanding some core nutrition principles.
We're talking with Ashley Koff, RD, and celebrity dietitian and author. And if you log on to her website, Ashley Koff, Koff, RD.com, you can navigate to download one of her books, Mom Energy. That sounds interesting. You can navigate over there, and she just has a whole wealth of information and all kinds of inspiration as well. If you'd like to join us, please do. The numbers are 465-7225.
1-800-748-7875.
Can you hang with us for another segment? Because there's so much more to talk about, Ashley.
Yep, I'm with you for a while.
Great.
Yeah.
And she loves fly fishing. I guess you might say she's a leader in her field. Oh, we'll be back.
Oh my God! My baby's gonna have a baby!
You're gonna be a grandma.
I'm too young to be a grandma.
You'll be a young grandma.
Well, I've got some grandmotherly advice for you, young lady. Get your cell phone.
I'm on my cell phone talking to you.
Oh yeah. When we're done, you have to sign up for Text for Baby.
I've only been a mother for an hour. What's Text for Baby?
Mrs. Williams' daughter Trinity used Text for Baby when she was pregnant, and she got free text messages every week on what to eat, labor and delivery, appointment reminders, things to keep your baby safe and protected.
I'll think about it.
Well, what's to think about? It's free. The phone company won't charge you for the messages, and it's easy. Just text BABY to 511-411 to get started.
I think I'll do it.
Good.
BABY 511-411.
Yeah.
Sign up for Text for Baby today to get free health and safety tips tailored to your baby's due date, so you get helpful advice when you need it.
Mom, what if it's twins?
A message from the Healthy Mothers, Healthy Babies Coalition.
Hey, John, freeze! John, what the heck are you doing?
Mike, you told me to freeze, so I stopped moving.
I meant give me that freeze highlight, big boy. Swing and a high drive to center field. Get up, baby. Get up, baby. Get up. Oh, yeah. David Freeze has just sent us into game number 7. I could hear that thing all day long. Listen to the Cardinals.
On your Cardinal connection in the tri-state, KMEM Memphis, Missouri.
What a night. What an evening of baseball.
Hey, Sean, did you hear Nostalgia Sunday the other night on KMEM?
Yeah, the 6 to midnight show on every Sunday with Donnie Middleton.
Yep, the one where Donnie plays rock and roll hits from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, taking me back to the days.
Yeah, Donnie's show was awesome. And his sister Marie, boy, she used to be quite the looker.
Sean, you're thinking of Donnie Osmond. Osmond?
Oh.
Tune in to Donnie Middleton's own Nostalgia Sunday from 6 to midnight on KMEM.
Are you sure?
Oh, go back and join the Navy, will you?
A foggy day in London town had me low, had me down.
Now, to get the seal of approval from Healthy You, our guests have to tell us if they like Michael Bublé and that style music. So, Ashley, what's your opinion?
I like all different kinds.
Oh, you're so politically correct.
It's kind of like picking my favorite vegetable. Are you kidding?
Now, my wife, who's a holistic nutritionist and has really has taught me to eat well by cooking interestingly in a healthy way. She likes to tell me, Randy, I know that people brought a birthday cake and you had a piece of it. Don't feel guilty about that because it's sort of a 90-10 rule that once in a while, if we're at an event and we, want to indulge in something that maybe is not on the approved list for general purposes, that as long as you're doing the right thing most of the time, you're okay. Do you subscribe to that or not?
I definitely do. I shy away from things like 90-10 or, people even 3 meals and 2 snacks. And the problem is just, after years of working with patients, I find that even though we all know what 90-10 is conceptually in our heads, that the 10 sometimes become 60 very easily. Today's going to be part of my 10%.
Yeah.
With meals, we think like, oh, those are big, and snacks, those are small, and snacks should be fun, and meals should be big. So I just use the term eating occasion, and just to remind us that we need to hit, about every 3 hours we want to get some nutrition in our body. But I agree. I definitely agree. People will always say to me, they'll ask the question of like, well, what if I just want to have ice cream, or what if I want to grill just on the 4th of July? Do I have to worry about this carcinogen issue with grilling animal meats or things like that? And, no, if you're doing something one time, do you have to worry about it? But the other part is, if you have an education around it, and with the availability of stuff today, we're really, really lucky. Cake can be made, for example, without artificial dyes, and so you can get icing and you can get cake batter that's made. You can either make the batter at home or you can get cake batter that's made with just real ingredients, butter, flour, sugar. The body knows what to do with that. It gets really confused when you give it things that look like a foreign language to it.
Ashley, let's talk about this gluten-free situation. It's really trendy right now. Is it healthier? We are running into, I know some of those that have small children, that we are running into students in our children's classrooms, if we have to provide snacks that are gluten-free or, peanut intolerant, that type of thing. But tell us about, let's move into the gluten-free and your expertise in that area, Ashley.
Well, first of all, when we look at nature, and we can look at the 90-10 rule, I think it's probably even more than 90-10. In nature, nature is primarily gluten-free. The amount of gluten, if we were eating a diet straight from nature, like back in, the Little House on the Prairie days, gluten-free would be very low. And the reason for that is it's really only found in about 4 or 5 places where you're going to get the gliadin protein. And that's, I use the acronym BROW, barley, rye, oats, and wheat. And oat is a little bit debatable because unless you're celiac, you don't necessarily have to look for gluten-free oats because it doesn't contain the protein. It can just be contaminated. But if we think about that and we think about nature, we turn around and we say, okay, let's avoid those. Let's eat potato. Let's eat rice. Let's have quinoa. Let's have salads. Let's have burgers. Let's have, all these different things that are out there that don't have wheat in them. The challenge is that when you eat a diet from processed foods or primarily from packaged foods, wheat is found in so many, like 80 to 90% of those products historically, because it's being used as binders or flavorings or fillers or shelf stabilizers. And so suddenly gluten becomes something that we feel like is everywhere. And in today's grocery store, gluten really is everywhere. So the first comment that I would say is that a gluten-free diet, we pay more attention to it today because if you're someone who's trying to avoid gluten, it really is that much more important in a grocery store that you're aware of where gluten is found. But in the idea of it being trendy, there are 2 things happening. One is we have a growing awareness that as a country, there are more people who have a sensitivity, or there's a growing number of people who have an allergy to wheat. And there are a number of reasons we can debate that, and we'll leave that to the science. But because of that, we have people, if it's an allergy, these people, you have something called celiac disease, you actively 100% have to avoid gluten. There's no 90%. It's one of the only places in nutrition that you want to try for perfect. If you're someone who is sensitive to it, what we want to do is we want to try our best to exclude that from the diet. And if we do get it in its best forms, meaning something that is going to be as I was mentioning before, food found in its form closest in nature, something like einkorn, which is, historic wheat, ancient wheat, that sort of a thing. And the real reason that we're facing a lot of these sensitivities is that the wheat that we're getting today is a hybridized, a very man-made form of wheat that has really been produced to be highly productive in terms of growth and very easy for us to process into white flour. So that's a very different wheat than our grandparents and further generations back were eating. So that's one of the reasons that the body is having this intolerance issue. Here's the thing. A gluten-free diet does not equal a healthy diet. Okay, there's nothing about gluten-free is talking about excluding something from the diet, and a healthy diet is what I was talking about before, which is a qualitarian diet. So if you are following a gluten-free diet, then what you need to do is you need to have a healthy diet that is gluten-free. And that's where I think a lot of people make the mistake, and especially when the trend sort of first hit, what we were seeing is, we're 2 or 3 years into an explosion of gluten-free foods that are out there. I was presented at a recent food show with somebody who said, I know you'll love this. It's a gluten-free cake. And they handed it to me, and they thought I was crazy that I didn't just taste it. I looked at the ingredients. The second ingredient was high fructose corn syrup. The third ingredient was partially hydrogenated oil. And I looked at the guy. I wanted to throw the cake in his face. And I said, this is really ridiculous that you are saying, especially for somebody trying to avoid gluten, they're probably doing it for a health reason. And the health reason, if you're trying to help your body heal, then even more so than somebody who is trying to prevent anything from happening to the body, you have to be focused on giving your body the best quality. And high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils, artificial dyes, GMOs, all of these things, these are not the best things for the body.
Wow.
So if it's gluten-free and if you're trying to give the kids something that's gluten-free at school, super easy. Just go with all the other things that exist in nature that are not gluten, that don't contain gluten. Hummus and vegetables, fruits and chocolate, making a trail mix instead of making brownies. Like, there's so many different things that we can do that naturally don't contain gluten, but stay away from the packaged foods.
Actually, one of the things I heard you say earlier was better energy. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
I would love to. One of the myths that I am trying my hardest to debunk out there, and every day I'm hit with a new product that tries to undo me, is for people to understand the distinction between better energy and more energy. There are many things that we can do to quickly get more energy, and they fall into the stimulant category, and that could be quick, shots of sugar. It could be stimulants like caffeine or some of the herbs that exist, maca, spirulina, some of these things that really give us a boost of stimulant. And stimulants are not bad. They just have to be understood, because what they do is they stimulate the body. The challenge that we have today is for better energy, for the type of energy that we want. And I like to give the analogy of thinking about rolling hills as opposed to spikes like a mountain range, right? We want more of the rolling hills in terms of our energy, and that's better energy. And the way that we do that is we balance stimulation in the body with relaxation. And the majority of Americans are looking at their diet in search of quote-unquote more energy and just focusing on the stimulants. And what happens is they go stimulant, crash, stimulant, crash, stimulant, crash, instead of balancing from a diet some milder amount of stimulant and then also relaxation. So a great example is if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and somebody says to me, I always crash at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and that's why I feel I need sugar, or that's where I need to have my coffee, and I'll turn around and ask them, what did you have for lunch? And when we start to talk about what they had for lunch, or even what they had first thing in the morning, if they started their morning off with a venti or a trenti of coffee, or at lunchtime if they had a sandwich and chips, or even a sandwich and apple, and then a soda or an Arnold Palmer or this, I will tell them they're getting too much stimulation by way of caffeine or sugar earlier in the day, and then at that 3 o'clock they're crashing.
So they load up early, and then they pay for it later.
Exactly. And so what we want to do is say, again, you can have all of those things. If somebody wants a cup of coffee, it's a cup of coffee. I recently had a guy in the dog park tell me, I only have 1 cup of coffee a day. He later told me it's 32 ounces first thing in the day. I was like,
oh, wow.
Let's go over really simple what a definition of a cup is, and let's start there. So it's really, you can have coffee. I'm totally fine with that. Sure, there's better quality coffee, so we'll pay attention to that. And at lunchtime, if you want to have a carbohydrate, I want you to have a carbohydrate because that's going to give you good quality, good energy. The better quality of the carbohydrate, your apple, your whole grains, your beans. But even if you want to have something that's sweet, a piece of fruit, a piece of chocolate,
there you go,
even
Lisa.
a cookie, you can have it. Just the one portion.
Wow. And if the things that you eat along with it help balance that out, and I guess now I'm getting into the concept of glycemic load and glycemic index, that even expands that thought more, doesn't it, in terms of trying to make sure there's fiber along with that sugar and that you're getting that balance in what you're eating?
Yeah. And what I would say is actually where I started to think you were going with that is even more of a factor, and that would be what I call nutrient balance. So that's understanding that when you have a carbohydrate, the goal at any eating occasion is to balance out our macronutrients, to have some carbohydrates, some protein, some healthy fat. And that can sound very scientific, and it isn't. The nutrition plan on my website breaks down exactly where foods are found, and most foods have some have some of each of those nutrients or a couple of them in there. But the idea is that, yes, you do want to have the better quality carbohydrates. So, for example, if I eat an apple as opposed to drinking apple juice, when I eat the apple, I get the fiber in the skin. I get the water that's in the apple. I also get certain nutrients going into my body that helps my body receive the sugar from the apple differently than if I'm just drinking the juice. And one serving of an apple is one apple, about the size of my fist, especially if it's an organic apple. One serving of apple juice is 4 ounces. Most people aren't drinking 4 ounces of apple juice. They're usually drinking several portion sizes, and that's something to be attentive to. But our goal there is to say, okay, if I'm eating an apple, that's my carbohydrate. Now maybe I'll have almond butter or peanut butter with it, which is going to give me my protein and my healthy fat. Or maybe I'll have some turkey slices, or maybe I'll have some cottage cheese. So I'm balancing it out from a nutrient standpoint instead of saying I'm going to have an apple and then I'm going to have a sandwich which has 2 slices of bread, and maybe I have a side salad of beets or of sweet potato or of a potato salad, and suddenly I've got way too much carbohydrate at one time. Even if they're good quality carbohydrate, that's still going to be a negative for you. It's too much.
We're talking with Ashley Koff at ashleykoffrd.com, and boy, all kinds of information, nutrition plans. There's even a 7-day weight loss, plan there on the blog. Tons of information. So since you're running on the Qualitarian ticket come November, what do you tell people that I think make a legitimate complaint to me? A personal example here. My wife and I eat very healthfully. My daughter, who's in college and who gets a very small stipend from her parents, has to make it work, tells me, if I try to eat like you guys eat, it'll go for about 2 or 3 days. And I can buy a boatload of Pop-Tarts. It'll last me the whole month, Mom and Dad. It's just more expensive to eat this way. How do we challenge those legitimate complaints that eating healthfully is generally eating a little more expensively?
It is my favorite challenge, and what I would do is I would sit down with your daughter and actually offer her up that challenge and compare my grocery list to hers and look at the cost there. Because actually buying quality ingredients in their base form, and then I borrow a phrase from IKEA called some assembly required, doing it that way and assembling your food, you can really do at the lowest possible budget. And I do that often for clients, and I always am challenging myself that way, because it's not fair to turn around. I remember when sushi started to get popular, I had a lot of clients saying, well, I can't be skinny because I can't afford to eat sushi every day. It's that kind of that mistake. Now what happens is if you're out and you compare ready to eat better quality food with ready to eat poor quality or junk food, then oftentimes they pale in comparison in terms of the price. But if you look at the core ingredients, and you go shopping for those core ingredients. For example, I live in Los Angeles. I have farmers markets available to me absolutely everywhere, and I do go to them. But I have actually noticed from a budgetary standpoint that it is less expensive for me to buy organic frozen vegetables and have them in my freezer, and especially organic frozen fruit. Even though I know blueberries are in season, it is less expensive for me to do that on a daily basis. And I treat myself at the farmer's market to getting certain things, and I give myself a budget when I'm there. And some people would argue, would say, oh, blasphemy, you're killing sustainability. It's so, can't believe you're not doing local, all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, to me, I know that is both that I am doing the better quality choices, and I am also, because the organic is very important to me from a quality standpoint, and also I am meeting my budget. And a lot of times the issue that I get with college students, too, is they are on the go all the time. And so one of the things that I've done I've done college makeovers. I've gone in and I've taught kids how to make granola bars, and everybody gets, they make one set and then share them between, 3 or 4 people who are sharing a room or a suite. Or I'll have everybody get one ingredient, and we have these trail mix making parties, and then everybody makes the trail mix baggie and has the trail mix for the week. Because sometimes when you buy in bulk, unlike those of us that have our houses, college students don't have room to keep all of this stuff, and we know there's nothing worse than buying the food in bulk and then either not being able to store it somewhere or having it go bad.
Yes.
So I think there's that. And the other part that I would challenge your daughter, and I think it's such a great space today, is that college students can get really involved on campus with their food choices. And it's amazing to see how responsive the university is, because you have all of the power. If you're not buying it, or if you're protesting, or if you go in and you work with the kitchen staff and say, we'd prefer this was prepared this way, or instead of making the rice and beans drowning in fat and grease, could we have them just boiled and plain, and then people can top it with whatever they want. Things like that can make a huge improvement in the health with just very minor changes to the food production.
And I can tell you, too, the one thing that I've learned as we've started to eat for the last several years, almost purely Mediterranean, try to eat that nice, well balance. And we try to start out with proteins and healthy fats. And I mean, it's a fact that those will fill you up a little quicker, and you're not chasing that carbohydrate hunger if you incorporate more of those healthy fats and proteins. So you can certainly tailor the meal itself.
I think you raise a really good point, and I was giving a statement the other day that got a little bit. Somebody was trying to debate with me, and we had a good, healthy debate. I'm pretty sure I won. At the base of the conversation is there is no disputing that a plant-based diet is healthier for us. There is just no dispute. And if we look at around the world, any of the diets that we say, wow, look at them for longevity, or wow, look at them for reduced amount of disease, or wow, any of that stuff, they are all plant-based. And again, if you choose to have animal in the diet and you make it good quality and you keep it more in the accessory portion, so it's a smaller amount, as long as your diet is based in plants, you are going to have a healthier diet. And the opportunity there is to understand that, number one, plants cost less for everyone. They cost less in the grocery store, they cost less environmentally, they cost less across the board. So that's going to be a cost savings. But also, you're exactly right. When we look at our proteins, if we also look at plants that contain proteins, then we know, just like the animals that we would eat, like if it's a cow or whatever, we're going to get what our body needs to make the protein. And when our body is making the proteins healthfully, proteins are our messengers, so they influence our hormones, or they're part of our hormones, which help to manage properly or improperly, depending on what we're eating, our cravings for and need for those carbohydrates. So there's a great cycle going on that you're mentioning, which is, yes, if you're choosing the right better quality proteins and better quality healthy fats, you're probably going to get the right amount of carbohydrate in anyway, or you can start to accessorize with the carbohydrate without that feeling of, oh my gosh, I feel like I need more. I need more sugar. I need more, candy, or I need the soda, or that sort of a thing.
Well, I tell you, we have run to the end of the hour, and I could talk with you forever, because it's just been so motivating and inspirational.
Absolutely.
And I hope our listeners will log on to the website. Now, Ashley, when I log on, AshleyKoffRD.com works, as well as AshleyKoffApproved.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's because I have my Ashley Koff approved list, which is a not paid for list. I've audited at this point over 15,000 products. And you can go on there. A lot of times people say to me, hey, love that nutrition, but we don't want to know what can I buy.
Mhm.
So you can go on there and just see what you can buy, and again, that's not influenced by anything monetarily. It's just what I believe the better quality choices people can make.
Well, you are a delight, and we wish you well going forward. Again, log on to the website, download the book, and good fly fishing to you this summer and fall.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, perhaps we'll talk back in the fall, and I can report on the large fish that I caught in a
There you go.
release.
Good idea.
And I'm sure you'll have an idea how we can fix it healthfully, too.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
Great.
take care, Ashley.
care.
Bye-bye. Ashley Koff.
Oh, she was really great, wasn't she? I'm going to go pour out my 32-ounce coffee.
Vente. That's Bud. There's Elisa. We'll be back in just a couple minutes and wrap it up here on the show. You're listening to Healthy You on Tuesday mornings, KMEM 100.5.
Try the General Store weekdays with Dave Bowden from 9:06 to 10 a.m. right here. Our two-station simulcast means we get an average of close to 50 calls every weekday. Hundreds of people might be interested in your items, and who knows, you may even find a bargain. Call Dave Bowden on the General Store at 1-800-748-7875 or 660-465-7225.
As the years go by, I love to think about the great moments that I've been a part of, being a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. Whether it was going deep in a World Series as a player,
Here's a pitch to Shannon. Swung on. Deep in the left field.
calling a postseason classic is thrilling as well.
Just sent us into game number 7.
There's nothing like the thrill of Redbirds baseball. Listen all season long, right here at
KMEM Radio, the greatest moments in all of baseball.
What an evening of baseball.
And we're back. Next week, we're going to be talking about ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Talk about that and neuromuscular diseases in general. Had a very good friend who I lost from my St. Louis days. Very, very good friend of the family who we lost after a long fight with ALS recently. It was sad to watch him deteriorate. But we're anxious to talk with the ALS Association next week, and there's always great research on the forefront there, and we'll catch up with the cutting edge in that whole spectrum of diseases, because there's a bunch of related diseases, and so we'll talk with them. You may have someone who's afflicted with something like that and want to join us at that point. And we always invite your phone calls too. You don't have to be shy, because it's we're all just a big happy. It's like a big happy seminar. In college, when everyone sits around and asks questions and,
Exactly.
Hey, I read this, and what do you think about that? And that's what we talk about.
Come to the table, get your cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But in
Just
college,
not 32 ounce.
Yeah, in college isn't like $180 an hour for that seminar.
That's right.
We don't charge you anything
High
here.
price
Totally
stuff.
free. Totally free.
What is a college credit hour these days? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Yeah, this is a good website, Ashley Koff RD, and I commend it to you. And I think that approach of sort of not being an exclusive type dieter in one way or another. And I know that there are people. We didn't get a chance to talk with her. There's so much that we left untouched. But I know people. You know people. Probably you know your own body. There are certain things. I know I may have. I don't know if I've got I know I don't have celiac, but I may have a little gluten sensitivity. There's some scientific studies that all of us in our intestinal lining may be sensitive to grains.
I know my intestinal lining is very sensitive.
I hadn't had a. Thanks for sharing. That's why you need a colonoscopy.
No.
But I hadn't had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich forever. I forgot to bring lunch yesterday, and I was starved, and made myself a little. and I was like just congested, and everything changed like a storm blowing over the rest. I told my wife, I said, it's probably something in the bread that bothers me. And people will tell me, when I do dairy, I get the mucus, and when I do this or that. If you notice a trend, drop it for a week or two, see what happens, and you may be onto something.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, that wraps it up for this week. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Miss Elisa. Thank you, Bud. Always great to be with you guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Healthy You. Remember this week, be well, share it with someone you love, enjoy the nicer weather.
See you at the fair.
Yeah. You guys going to be down there?
Yeah.
We're headed there right now.
Stop by and say hi. See you next time.
This crazy life, and through these crazy times, it's you. You make me sing your every line, your every.
You're listening to the best in area news, weather, community activities, and sports. In Northeast Missouri and Southeast Iowa, Real Country 100.5, we are KMEM Memphis, Missouri.